Jice with B2B Thrive. Today we're going to talk about a productivity journal. I've been talking about this for a little while and saying I was going to do one, and it has not been on the top of my priority list. So the reason why I want to do a video on a productivity journal is because one of the questions I'm asked all the time is, how do I do everything I do? So I mentioned before in another video that you can't really manage time. What you can do is you can manage your productivity. So with this, I'm going to show you what I do to manage my productivity. I hope that you find it helpful. And what I will say is there are a lot of virtual apps you can use. There are apps on your phone, apps on your computer that will help you. I am pretty old school, so I tend to literally stick with pen and paper. You can basically copy this same method if you prefer an electronic version. If you want to use your phone, your tablet, your iPad, or whatever the case might be, the methodology stays the same. So basically, when you are wanting to manage your productivity, you have to focus on 3 to 5 things a day that you can take care of. These have to be the most important things. This always ties back into the 80-20 rule that I promote, that 20% of the work that we do is going to get us 80% of the results. And yet, as a habit, we tend to navigate towards the easier things. So we do 80% of the things, which really makes us feel like we're busy, but they only give us 20% of the results. So each day, you have to really take a look at what are my priorities for the day and make sure that you knock out those priorities first and then go into doing everything else that you have to do for the day. By no means are the 3 things that you highlight designed to be the only things that you're doing for the day. They are to be the top priorities. They are what you handle first thing in the morning as soon as you get started on your day. So one of the things that I want to throw in here before I get to showing you my productivity journal are the fact that, one, some things are time sensitive. Those are always important. And so the question is, when can you fit those things in your day? I'm going to use bill paying, for example. Everyone has to pay bills. It's just a part of life. And those things are time sensitive. If you don't pay your bills on time, you will incur fees. You can get negative credit reports. You can have creditors calling you, so on and so forth. It can be very costly not to pay your bills. However, 9 times out of 10, paying your bills is probably not going to take up your entire day, and it's also not going to be your top priority. So my recommendation is, for things like that, you move to the latter part of the day after you've taken care of your most important tasks. The other thing that I will talk about a little bit more is delegation. One of the things as we grow as business owners that we have to realize is that we cannot do everything ourselves. Sometimes that may be even recruiting our own family members. If you have a teenager, your teenager could very well write your thank you cards for you. And depending on how you parent, you may decide or not decide to pay your teenager for that. But something that may take your teenager 30 minutes to accomplish for you is something that's off your plate, but is still important for your customer service and still important for your business. And so therefore it still gets done. So those are kind of some of the things that I incorporate, is how can I get some of the more menial tasks to someone else? If I do have to end up doing them myself, how can I put them in a later block in the day so that I make sure that my most focused time is dedicated to accomplishing my most important tasks? So as I mentioned, I tend to stick to pen and paper. So literally, I have a notebook. Very simple, nothing fancy, and I have my pen. These are my tools to manage my productivity. Again, if you want to use electronic versions, there are a bunch of them. There are Evernote, there are ColorNote. Most phones come with a task manager. Google will remind you of tasks, and so will Siri. So there are a lot of ways that you can do this, but again, the concept is the same. So if you'll notice here in this picture, what you see is a list of things to do for the week. Now, some people prefer a daily reminder. I prefer a weekly reminder. And part of that is because a lot of my projects tend to be very big and they have to be broken up into segments. And so what I try to do is break those down and make sure that I'm focusing on knocking out those big projects one at a time, but also breaking them up into manageable pieces. So for instance, if I'm creating a marketing strategy, that's not going to happen in one day. But if it's at the top of my priority list because I know I'm getting ready to roll out a new service and I want to make sure that I promote it correctly, then what I will do is I will knock out chunks of that strategy as I go along throughout the week. But my goal would be to have a usable strategy within the week. Now, if you prefer to do a daily task, that's perfectly fine as well. Again, the concept is the same. It really just depends on how you compartmentalize things in your head. The next thing that you want to do is highlight, mark, star, underline, whatever way that you can recognize your top 3 priorities for the day. So I said 3 to 5, but I truly recommend 3, and I definitely would not go over 5. Sometimes you may find that you just have more than 3 things that just have to be done that day. And that's perfectly understandable. So highlight your top 3 to 5 items that you definitely need to get done that day. Now, if you operate on a schedule, which is what I recommend for all business owners, to not just allow your schedule to be free fall and whatever comes, whatever goes, I really encourage for you to have some dedicated work blocks. These are the tasks that you want to handle in your dedicated work blocks, and you want to do them as soon as possible. So, we all know that we're kind of addicted to email and addicted to social media. And so, I always allot myself a few minutes to check my Facebook page. And I definitely go through and look for any pertinent emails. But one of the things that I talk about is kind of coaching your clients on how you respond. So if you respond to every single email as soon as it comes in as though it's urgent, then your clients will expect you to do that. And you'll find that you're constantly interrupted throughout your day as you're trying to respond to correspondence that's not necessarily very time sensitive or important. So what I do is I tend to check my email first thing in the morning, and anything that was hanging over from last night that needs a response, or anything that was from first thing in the morning that was actually important, then I will respond then, and then I basically mark everything else, and I will respond at the end of the day or during my lunchtime. I kind of take those other 2 sessions to go ahead and check and respond to emails. So that's just part of how you begin to create a pattern for yourself and give yourself large blocks of time to actually focus on getting tasks done. That's one of the biggest things that I see when it comes to managing productivity is we allow for constant interruptions throughout our day. And that can be very disruptive to getting us to the next phase of where we're trying to be in our business. So I really encourage for you to minimize that. Sometimes that may require putting your phone on silent, getting into the groove, whether you listen to music or lectures. I listen to both, but doing something that helps you get into that groove so that you can really knock out those most important tasks. Okay, so the last picture here that you see shows that not only did we get those 3 highlighted things done, but we also got other things done in the day. And so again, your productivity journal is really to help you manage your productivity, do your most important tasks first, and then go ahead and take care of everything else you can take care of inside of your block of time. Now, one of the things that I, again, recommend is when it comes to delegation, making sure that you're delegating things that you can afford to delegate. It's really important to try and focus your time on the most important tasks, and oftentimes those smaller things can really be given to someone else. If you find that you can't give them to someone else, that's fine. Everyone is not always in that same position. I have a 9-year-old, so unfortunately she can't write my thank you cards. But there are other things that she can help me do. So she can file documents for me. She can definitely help me gather things that I need for the next day. She can scan papers for me. So there's all types of things that I can say, hey, these are things that I need for you to do for me. And because we're a family business, that's perfectly acceptable. I teach her how to work inside of the business. But you may also have a business partner. You may also know a teenager who needs a little bit of something like an internship or just some help or some guidance, or you just may want to keep someone busy. You may have a parent or an aunt or an uncle who doesn't mind helping you grow your business, or even a friend. I've definitely had friends who I've been swamped and I said, hey, can you help me create this spreadsheet? And they've done it with no problem. That's what good friends are for. So, you know, there are lots of ways that you can delegate things as you really try and grow your business. Now, one of the things that is really important is what to do when your list is not completed. So whether you do a daily or weekly list, at the end of that day or at the end of that week, if you have items on your list that have not been completed, you need to move them over to the next week. So that's one of the reasons why I love keeping my notebook, because then I'm able to go back and look and see what did I cross off and what didn't I cross off, and it's easy for me to transfer over to the next page. However, if you find that you've transferred something 3 times, that means that it's really not important. And then you either need to put it in a tickle file, or you need to delegate it or completely delete it. So to me, those are those 3 options. If I have carried this task over for 3 weeks, this is truly not an important task. It may be something I want to get done. It may be something I think I should get done, but clearly it's not a priority. So at that point, I either stick it in my tickler file, and I will do a video on a tickler file. I think that they are incredibly great tools to use in terms of organization. They're old but good. And then if I decide that I'm not going to put it in a tickle file, I'll delegate it. And if I decide that neither one of those options are appropriate, I may really think about it and say, this just isn't going to happen. And I will just delete it off my list, and out of sight, out of mind. So by next week, won't even be thinking about it. So those are my basic tips when it comes to how to create a productivity journal. I would recommend that you keep your journal pretty much specifically for your productivity management. That way, as you begin to do a self-assessment, you can always go back, you can look at it, you can determine whether or not you think how well you're doing. Basically, you can rate yourself. And if you find that you're not accomplishing things, that means that you have to self-assess and ask yourself, why not? What are you putting ahead of these most important priorities that you know you need to get done to grow your business? So these tips are always here for the growth and development for you personally, as well as for the growth and development of your business. And if your business isn't seeing growth, it really does take some inner reflection to try and figure out why that is. So I hope that you find these helpful. Please comment below. Your comments are always welcome. I will respond to them. And also, if you have any questions, you can definitely throw those in there. Don't forget to visit our website. It's www.b2bthrive.com. We are here to help your business grow. Please share if you found this video good as well. We would love for you to share, and we would love for you to follow us. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. I will be doing a video on a tickler file, and I hope that you find that one helpful as well.